Hello, everybody, and this is Kuda Biza coming to you today with an amazing episode. I'm really, really excited about this episode because I get to talk to Hannah from Feeding America, and we're going to be talking about how Feeding America is fighting hunger across the United States, and they're doing it one city at a time. So, Hannah, how are you?
I'm doing well, Kuda. How are you today?
I'm doing wonderful, and I've been looking forward to this episode because Feeding America is by far the largest organization in the United States that's really focused on fighting hunger. And to be having someone from Feeding America join us today to talk about how we are fighting hunger one city at a time is something super exciting. And our customers, they buy our cookies because they believe in the mission. And it's always a treat for them when they get to listen in to some of our impact partners like you on how they're actually, going out there and impacting the lives of those in needs and, taking some of the proceeds that come from the Nunbelievable cookie sales to do that. So happy to have you here today.
Well, I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me, Kuda, and thank you for everything that Nunbelievable is doing to support Feeding America's work and the work of all of our food bank and network partners all throughout the United States.
Cool. So first things first, tell us a little bit more about Feeding America and what you guys do.
Yeah, I'd love to. So, Feeding America, as you mentioned, is the largest hunger relief network in the United States. So, we are sort of the umbrella organization over a network of 200 food banks that are then an umbrella over 60,000 partner agencies. So, we truly have a footprint all throughout the United States, including in Alaska, Puerto Rico, and our network is serving our neighbors all across the United States in every single county. Oh, Kuda, I think you're muted.
Yeah. So that's every single county in the United States.
Yeah, that's correct.
Just out of curiosity, how many counties are there?
Oh, that's a great question and one I do not have the answer for right now. But yeah, our incredible network serves literally every single county across the United States and are so connected to the communities that they're working in.
Wow. And would you like to share a little bit more about your specific role at Feeding America?
Sure, I'd love to. So I work on our fundraising team, but beyond fundraising, what I like to think that that means that I do is really connect people to our mission. So there are so many incredible individuals all throughout the United States and companies and foundations that support our work. And I get to be the person that works with all of those individuals to really truly have an impact and help elevate all of our neighbors that are struggling right now, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic, which has just hit so many individuals and families so hard this past year.
So can you share a little bit about how you guys adapted in the pandemic, right? Because nobody was really expecting things to go the way that they went. And the interesting thing about the pandemic is that it kind of like restricted our ability to actually go out and help the people in need. But at the same time, the number of the people in need actually grew, right? Because people were
Yeah.
being furloughed and things like that, and volunteers weren't able to come over. So tell me a little bit about how you guys were able to continue doing your amazing work with some of the COVID restrictions that came into
Oh,
play.
so many restrictions. Yeah. No, it's been a challenging year for so many, and our network felt it as well. We really think of COVID-19 as kind of the perfect storm. We ran into supply chain issues. I'm sure everyone remembers early on in the pandemic going to the grocery store and just seeing empty shelves, and a large portion of our donated food often came from retail, from grocery stores. And so when the grocery store shelves were empty, there was just much less to donate. So we had to really innovate and evolve to meet the need. Another challenge we faced, as you mentioned, was volunteer shortages. So that was a huge issue during the pandemic. Before the pandemic, on average, throughout our entire network, we had about 2 million volunteers each month visiting our food banks. Now, when you think of volunteers, those are often really wonderful, caring individuals who are often retired. And the pandemic really hit our senior populations more, they had more challenges than other populations. And so we really saw a big drop in volunteerism, as well as corporate groups are often another group that heavily supports our food banks and volunteering. And so just lots of volunteer shortages, and then lots of challenges around volunteering, because you want to make sure that it's a safe experience for everyone. So you want to make sure that people are socially distanced, that they have all of the appropriate equipment. And so some of the ways that our food banks worked with this challenge is we brought in some really wonderful partners. The National Guard was working with more than half of our food banks. So more than 100 of our food banks used National Guard members to do what our normal volunteers did. A lot of our food banks also hired part-time temporary staff. So when they saw that there were so many layoffs in the food and restaurant industry and hospitality, there was, sort of a wealth of individuals that wanted to be employed and couldn't be, and had incredible skills that could help us repack and move all of this food to the people in need. And so we've seen a lot of our food banks hiring temporary staff, and a lot of them may actually be keeping them on and turning them into full-time permanent positions in the coming year, because we've seen a lot of real efficiencies out of it. The need for volunteers is manyfold, but one of the big things, one of the ways that we evolved during the pandemic was, when you think of food distributions, you often think of a lot of people together. You think of communal feeding, which during a pandemic, you can't really all get together and share a meal. And so a lot of our distributions moved to low touch or no touch, a lot of drive-through distributions, which also meant that individuals couldn't necessarily pick exactly what they wanted, and we needed to pre-pack boxes so we could put them in their cars. So volunteers were doing that, and then food banks were innovating their models so that way they could really serve people in a way that was mindful of all of these health challenges that we had during that time. It was really, I will say, pretty impressive and pretty inspiring to see how quickly our food bank partners and agency partners were able to pivot the way they normally worked to distribute meals to people in need, as well as also doing at-home delivery, especially for our homebound seniors during the pandemic.
Yeah, that's quite interesting. And I'm going to share an image real quick right now, because I think it kind of like illustrates what you're talking about, which is how people now in the pandemic, they would just kind of like get the boxes and put it in the car, and they wouldn't really need, or like they wouldn't really interact with the guest who's receiving the food. So this was kind of like the new normal, right? Masks on, and people just open their trunks and you drop it in and then you go.
I was volunteering this past Tuesday with Northern Illinois Food Bank here just north of the city. I'm in Chicago with some of my colleagues at Feeding America, and it's still the exact same thing. And we've had wonderful partners as far as I've done a few distributions with Northern Illinois Food Bank, and for example, Great American, Six Flags, the amusement park, because they couldn't operate, they donated their huge parking lot. So that way we could really do this in a way that was safe, could hold all of the cars. The number of people that are coming through for these distributions is truly, truly an impressive number. And a lot of the cars are picking up for other families as well. And so it's a really efficiently run operation where the cars get checked in. So that way they are asked how many families they're picking up for, and then they'll use like a dry erase marker to put on the car. So that way, when they drive up to us, the people putting the food into the cars, we know how many families and if it's going in a trunk or a back seat. So it's really done in a way that is very no touch, very mindful of, making sure everyone is safe, both the volunteers as well as all of our neighbors that are coming to pick up food.
Wow, yeah. So you can actually see the picture, right? This family is probably picking up for maybe 2 other families, 3 boxes there, and they're, headed over to the trunk of a car. And it's quite savvy, but it got the job done. So I'm quite pleased by that. I'm just going to share a quick video. Great. And this video highlights a story of some of the guests and beneficiaries at Feeding America, and I think it will just give everybody who's watching a glimpse of the people out there. They're just like normal people, just like us, and maybe 1 or 2 unfortunate circumstances hit them, and now they're food insecure. So just watch this video real quick, and then we'll talk about this in a minute.
As a mom, I want to be able to give my children the things that they need, and One of the primary responsibilities of a mom is to feed her kids, and that is hard to do on a budget. The things that are less expensive are the things that are less healthy. I want to be able to buy the produce and the dairy that's fresh and healthy. I want them to be able to have the energy that they need to run around and play. My name is Brittany. My husband is Clint. We have 2 little boys, and we love spending time together. Things were really tight, and one of our neighbors mentioned the Utah Food Bank brought food to our neighborhood, and that there was a whole truckload of food. I was really excited and humbled someone would be willing to donate all of that sort of thing and that we could have that. When we say that we're homeowners, people think that we have it made, that we don't struggle with money, but we do. Bills are really tight. We still have to make those choices and live on a budget. I use coupons. I do babysitting for the neighbors during the day, and I work at night. My husband has a college degree, and yet our income is still in the poverty level. Last year, we didn't turn the heat on during the winter. We had a little space heater that we used, and we all slept in the same bedroom. It's a terrible feeling as a mom, but it's a reality. Do you get the medicine? Do you get the fresh food? Do you get the pair of shoes? Or do you send them to school in November with sandals? I couldn't possibly tell you the difference it has made in our lives, that I have felt like a better mother, that I've been able to provide more for my children. The money that we were able to save on our groceries has helped us to be able to get back on our feet.
Wow. Like I can actually feel like the tears, like bubbling up in my eyes. What are your thoughts about the story?
Yeah, I think it's such a perfect representation of so many of the people that we serve. I think one of our greatest challenges before the pandemic was really educating the American public on what food insecurity looks like in the United States. It looks so different than many other countries. The majority of the people we serve are working poor, so they are employed. And I think the pandemic has really highlighted for so many that food insecurity can happen to anyone. Food is often the first, when you're looking at the trade-offs you have to make when you're on a limited income or when you lose your job because of a global pandemic, food is often the first trade-off you have to make. You're going to be paying for your electricity. You're going to be paying maybe for medications. There's so many things that people have to consider. And in the United States, so many families live paycheck to paycheck. So I think that's been maybe one of the silver linings of the pandemic is people are really understanding that food insecurity is so far from a choice anyone wants to make. This isn't a group of people that are really trying to take advantage of a system. They are people that are working really hard to make ends meet and are often just so grateful that this network exists to help them put food on the table for themselves, for their children. And you'll actually often find, at least before the pandemic, like we were talking about, volunteering is challenging right now, but pre-pandemic, a lot of our volunteers were also people that were receiving food from the food banks because they felt so grateful for this resource, and they may not have had the means to give back in another way, but sometimes they would have time to give back, and they would because they wanted to make sure that they were doing their part as well.
Wow. And you're quite right? Because if you think about it, if you normally have, 3 meals a day and then suddenly your budget gets cut and you have all these necessities and essentials like the heat and, your electricity and things like that, the first cut would be like, okay, I'll skip breakfast or whatever. Now you go from 3 meals to 2 meals and, essentially maybe even cut it even further to 1 meal. So, it becomes quite, easy to see how you can go from, having a regular, amount of food on a regular basis to then being food insecure, where you literally don't know where your next meal is going to come from. And it leads me to this question, which is, how can people, help, right? So like, what could be ways where we can be involved in the fight against hunger?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there are a lot of different ways. People have very different means, and so obviously we welcome donations. The work that we're doing it costs money. It costs money to feed the millions of Americans that Feeding America and our network of food banks are reaching. So if you can donate, we obviously welcome that. You can find out how to donate by going to feedingamerica.org. If you're interested in giving back locally, at the top of our webpage at feedingamerica.org, you'll see a food bank locator, and you can type in your zip code and find the exact food bank that is serving your area. When you go and find that food bank, you'll see a button to either donate or to volunteer. So if you're interested in volunteering, about 60% of our food banks are in need of volunteers right now. Some still are on limited volunteers, which is why I say only 60%, because everyone has great need for help, but just how they're operating and how they're able to offer volunteering varies by food bank. But you can go to feedingamerica.org, find your local food bank, and find out how you can donate time, how you can donate money, and then finally advocate, educate yourself on what the issue is and help carry the story to others. I think like I said, it's been a silver lining during this pandemic. I think public awareness of the issue has been raised exponentially. So people are a bit more aware, a bit more engaged, but there are still plenty of people that don't know that this is a challenge. And so continue to educate your community. And also, if you know anybody in need, send them to our website. There's also a button for getting help that can help direct any individual, any family in need to where they can find help locally near them.
Yeah. And let's talk numbers real quick, right? So, we were just talking about how COVID really impacted, the hunger issue. And I remember pre-COVID, it was maybe like around 34 million people who were struggling with hunger. And it looks like that number has gone up to around 42 million people who are food insecure.
That's correct.
What's really kind of like driven this, number one, and number two, do you see this number even going beyond that? Because for me, it's a scary number, right? Because the way I like to think about things is I like to compare things, right? So I was looking up the Canadian population, and Canada has around 36 million people in total. And right now, with 42 million Americans being food insecure, there are more hungry people in America than there are people in Canada. So when you start putting this into context, that's when you really wrap your head around, like, oh my God, this is a big issue. So,
yeah.
so how do you see the trends going forward? Do you still think that the numbers will continue rising? And what else could be done to maybe help bring those numbers down?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it's a very scary number. We're seeing such a huge increase in food insecurity. On average, our food banks are seeing a 55% increase from this time pre-pandemic and the need that they're serving. What we also like to do is compare numbers as well. And so what we keep looking back to is the Great Recession in 2008, and it took us 10 years to get back down below Great Recession numbers, for that number to drop. So it wasn't until 2018 that we saw those numbers start to decrease to pre-recession numbers again. So they were decreasing over those years, but not back to what that right before the Great Recession baseline number is. So, I like to tell people this is a marathon, not a sprint. We're going to need assistance for years to come. We're going to see increased numbers for so many years to come as people recover, as people get back on their feet. So many people have been unemployed during this pandemic, and a lot of businesses are going under, and it's going to be a while until people are starting new businesses or until employment numbers really start to return back to normal. We're also going to see a lot of the people that we're serving, they are going into debt right now. There's in lots of cities and places across the United States, there are, the city government saying you can't evict people and various things like that are protecting housing situations. However, there's going to be a lot of back rent due. There's going to be a lot of bills that are piling up. And so we're going to be here for that long road of recovery. But it's going to take some time. I wish I could give you an exact timeline, and I wish I could say that timeline ended tomorrow. But
yeah. Wouldn't that be nice, right?
That would be the dream.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Well, for the viewers that are watching, because I do see that there are some people who are live, we can see your comments. If you drop in a comment, if you have a question for Hannah or myself, more than happy to take it on live and hopefully answer it. So feel free to drop us a comment, and we appreciate the love. And I'm going to shift gears real quick, but still sticking to numbers, right? So in 2020, obviously, it was an unprecedented year. And it looks like from March to December last year, you donated 5.3 billion with a B meals. How did that happen? And secondly, how is it comparing with 2021 so far?
Yeah, that's a great question. So right now in 2021, our numbers are a little bit lower than during those peak early months in the pandemic, but we're really seeing a sustained increased need. But we were able to donate that many meals because we have so many incredible partners like Nunbelievable. We have a ton of corporate partners that donate food, whether that's manufacturers or distributors that are helping get food into the Feeding America network. And so we really help coordinate with our food bank partners to make sure that that food is going from whichever corporate partner, whether that's, like I said, a shelf-stable food manufacturer, whether that's one of our farm partners. A lot of people don't think about food banks as having a lot of fresh produce, but that is one of the largest percentages of the things that we're pushing out into the network. We work with, the dairy industry. We work with protein manufacturers so that we're really making sure that we can offer a healthy, nutritious balance to the people we serve.
That's really good. I was in Starbucks the other day, and I saw a sign, and it looks like you've even partnered with them as well. So
that's right. They came on board about 5 years ago as a partner and have been such a tremendous supporter of our work ever since, donating all of those. About 5 years ago is when they started to have all those delicious, fresh prepared meals and their salads and sandwiches and things beyond just their scones and muffins. And so they were like, we want to get all of our stores on board donating at the end of the day that wonderful food so people can have in hand a ready to eat meal the next day.
That's really cool. And talking about partners, I'm going to share one video of a partner that both Nunbelievable as well as Feeding America have a really close relationship with. So let's cue it up right now.
There are lots of people in need other than ourselves in this area. My name's Edwin. This is my wife, Debbie, and we've been married for 36 years.
I have my mother that lives here, and then our grandsons, and our daughter, and our son-in-law.
I worked my whole life. I was a concrete finisher. I just woke up one day and I couldn't move my shoulders. With me on disability and Debbie working full-time and our daughter working, we get so close to getting over the hump, but we just don't quite get there. There'd be times that Debbie and I would have to skip meals in order to make sure that the grandkids eat every day.
Feeding America is proud to partner with Tony Robbins in the 1 Billion Meals Challenge. The challenge aims to provide 1 billion meals by 2025, thanks to matching funds from Tony and other donors. Together, we can help feed millions of children, families, and seniors in the United States who face hunger each year.
Hi, I'm Tony Robbins, and Feeding America is basically the largest organization in the United States, and I'm supporting them because when I was 11 years old, I had no food at Thanksgiving, and my family was fed.
Every dollar you give provides 10 meals, which are then doubled to 20 with Tony's match. You can help children start their school day with the nutrients they need. You can help your neighbors when they are struggling to make ends meet.
That's hamburger.
People should continue to donate.
Definitely. Without the food pantries and without people donating, people, they go hungry. It's really amazing how many people you actually help.
If you decide you'd like to make a contribution today of any amount, $10, $20, $100, I'll match it today.
Make a donation today. Together, we can end hunger in America.
Wow.
Tony is such a fantastic partner. We're so grateful to have him on our team, walking alongside us in this fight to end hunger. He is truly committed to the cause. As you saw in the video, he grew up food insecure, and so we couldn't have asked for a better partner, a better advocate for our work.
Yeah. Yeah, and for some of the people who don't know, Tony is really behind Unbelievable, and he's one of the people who actually came up with the idea after meeting up a group of nuns that were being evicted in San Francisco, and the idea came about as to, hey, what if we were to create a mission-based cookie company that would provide meals, because these nuns were doing something similar, and here we are today, and as a brand, we donate a meal for every cookie that we sell, and we've so many different impact partners, including Feeding America. And obviously, we wouldn't probably exist if it wasn't for Tony and his heart to serve, and also to be able to be working with Feeding America. A lot of credit goes to Tony for establishing that connection for us. So we're truly grateful, for that 1 billion meal challenge that really just set the fire for everything that's happening today. And where is he on the journey so far to really hit that 1 billion meals?
He is well on his way. So his goal was to hit 1 billion, or is to hit 1 billion meals by 2025, but you didn't hear it here, although I guess we're live, so you did. I have a feeling he's going to hit it in advance of 2025. He's inspired so many thousands of partners to join Feeding America in the fight to end hunger. And as you saw, if you donate through feedingamerica.org/1 billion meals through Tony's challenge, between him and other donors that are matching gifts, your $1 equals 20 meals, which is such an incredible impact. So if you only have $1 to give, you are still providing 20 meals to people in need. It's really phenomenal. He's been a partner of Feeding America in our network for nearly a decade, and the impact that he and all of the partners he has brought to us have had is really, it's had a huge impact on our neighbors in need.
Well, that's great to hear, and I think for him, and this is just me speaking, I think it takes a lot of inspiration when others, take their own part to make a change as well. So take the inspiration from the work that he's done to also, light your own torch and support whatever mission it is. If it's Feeding America and Unbelievable and what we're doing, great. If there are other causes that you care about, I think what's important is, like Tony likes to say, the secret to living is giving. So giving in whatever shape or form that really speaks to you, I think is the important thing. And for us as a brand, we love to give the gift of meals through the cookie sales that we make. So that it's kind of like when you're eating your cookie, someone else is also having a meal as a result. So we've really built our business and our business model really around that premise. So as we're getting towards the end, Hannah, just wanted to ask you, are there any key things you'd love to share with the listeners? Any points of where you'd like to point them so that they can support the work that you guys are doing?
Yeah, thank you. I think that, you said it so wonderfully, whether it's food insecurity or a different cause you're passionate about, just get involved, get engaged, find out more about what you care about, whether that's going to feedingamerica.org, reading more about our work there, where you can find out how to engage, whether that's volunteering, donating, or advocating. And like I mentioned earlier, at the top of our website, you can find your local food bank. So if you'd like to get involved locally, see who's serving your local community, you can do that. So we always say, sort of, for Feeding America, we like the 3 F's. You can get involved by donating food, funds, or friends. So advocating, I believe Kuda had been sharing our Instagram. You can see lots of wonderful stories about the people we serve and our food bank partners on our Instagram. Follow us on all the social media so you can find out what's happening. But yeah, really just get engaged, talk about it with people. If you can help in any way, donate your time, donate your dollars, and spread the word.
So food, like Nunbelievable cookies and the food that we donate, funds. If you want to donate, you can go directly on feedingamerica.com and just look for the donate button and then just press there. If you work for a corporation, sometimes companies match. So look into that and speak with your HR teams to see if there could be something that you could do there to make sure that your funds are matched. in these types of contributions, as well as even if you want to support the 1 billion meal challenge, it's also managed too by Tony. So that's another exciting way where you could also contribute with the second F. And then obviously the other F, which is friends. So spread the word online, on social media with your friends. And depending on where you are and if volunteering is an option, you and your friends can all go to some of the food banks affiliates, and then just go out there and give your time and love, knowing that you're making a difference and you're paying it forward, another to people in need. So Hannah, thank you so much for jumping on and really telling us more about Feeding America and how you guys are conquering hunger one city at a time. We are truly blessed to have you guys as one of our impact partners here at Nunbelievable. And we cannot wait to really grow our business so that the impact and the contributions we can be sending your ways could just continue to grow over and over and over. So would love to have you come back again and just tell us how many more people have been able to benefit from the amazing work that you guys are doing.
Well, Kuda, thank you so much for inviting me. Nunbelievable, you guys are a new partner for us and already kicking it off in such a meaningful way. We're just really grateful to have you on board.
All right, thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for spending time today and listening to Hannah and I as we were talking. As you can see below, that is their Instagram account. So feel free to follow Feeding America on Instagram, go to their website. And if you find that good feeling in your heart to want to make a difference, feel free to move as you feel guided. But the important thing to note is that as you take action to make a difference, a lot of people will enjoy that contribution you'll make, because it will be truly life-changing. So thank you so much for joining me again on Cookie Bites here, and we'll see you guys next week.